From Boston, where I live now, and from Lowell, where I was born. I realized I was born at the same time that Kerouac first met Cassidy, October of '46. If I had been a smart baby, I would have jumped out of that bassinet. I would have grabbed a camera and I would have gone to New York and taken some photos. You can imagine how much they'd be worth now. If you saw the clips from the movie, I have seen the movie, the original movie now, twice. I haven't seen the cut version. If you notice the very first scene in the movie with the door opened, you can understand why I'm in love with Garrett Hedlund. I know the movie hasn't received the greatest reviews. I guess they've been mixed, right?
Mixed. Actually, since the cut, they've been very good.
What's that?
Since the cut, it came out at Cannes and got bad reviews.
Yeah.
And they cut 20 minutes out of it and altered the structure, and then the reviews have been very good.
Except for the New York Times, which panned it again, but anyway.
I know that there were 3 cemetery scenes originally in the original version. I think those were cut. Yeah, they weren't necessary. The one that was the most important was him and his father's, Kerouac at his father's gravesite. He'd be buried in New Hampshire. When up in Boston, I wanted to mention that Edgar Allan Poe was born there, and they're attempting to put up a statue. It's actually a very humorous statue of Poe, going to be put right near the center of Boston. They're trying to raise money for that now. So if anybody is a Poe fan, maybe you'd like to send some money to the Poe Foundation of Boston. It's Poe with a suitcase rushing to get somewhere, and the suitcase opens, and out falls a telltale heart, and his manuscripts, and there's a big raven, and Poe fell in love with a Lowell woman in the last year or two of his life, and what I had written was a historical study monograph about his relationship with this woman. So if you ever see a poem called For Annie, that's Poe's poem for this Lowell woman. In Lowell, Betty Davis was born there, and I managed to get a bronze plaque up on her birthplace with 2 stars because she only won 2 Academy Awards. I know. I guess some people here wouldn't know Betty Davis. Maybe the others would. She was, acting for well over 60 years. She was born in 1905, as I recall. And then there's this Kerouac guy. He was born up there. He was born not so far from the Merrimack River. I was also born on a hill overlooking the Merrimack River. I think he was born at home and I was born in a hospital there. Now on the road, it may be a classic, but it's not a masterpiece. Dennis mentioned Visions of Cody. I think of that as a masterpiece. But of the other works, the ones I think, I love Dr. Sachs. That's one of his best. The Subterraneans and Big Sur. Just want to mention a few. Now, I've been thinking about mysteries and male bonding on the road. And the word mystery is actually on the very first page of the book. And there's also mention on at the beginning of the book about when Cassidy was, Stephen Moriarty, Cassidy first appears in New York. He's this stranger shrouded in mystery. And there's a sentence later in the book, which I'll read here. It's just, there were mysteries around here. You'll see this thread through the book about either an allusion to mystery or maybe giving some answer about the mystery. Because Kerouac was on a spiritual quest. And when you're on a serious spiritual quest, you have these questions, and if you're a serious writer, you put it into the work. For instance, there's, in the book, it talks about the manuscript of the night. It's kind of mysterious. The manuscript of night in America. Of course, America is a poem. And there's also a lot in the book that people are wondering, what is Dean Moriarty talking about? You know, he's mystery, because you know, he could talk a lot and he could throw in important seeming words, but what the heck was he talking about? There's levels of madness in the book. That's, you know, what are the levels of madness? Because Dean Moriarty descends into greater madness. And I, for one, consider Neal Cassady to have been a psychopath. I think there's legitimate reasons if you really study Neal Cassady. Now, Garrett Hedlund here, whom I did fall in love with, I think he does a very fine job in this movie. I don't think he's frantic enough as Cassady was, and he seems too sane and not frantic enough. There's visions in the movie. This is part of the mystery. They both have visions, and you know, there's the famous vision that Sal Paradise, Kerouac has on Market Street here, where he's in a delirious kind of state. He's very hungry, he's tired, he's really beat, and he sees a woman through the window of a hashery, an eatery, and he feels like, and there's some feeling of ecstasy connected with it. There's a feeling that this woman was his mother from 200 years ago. And then he feels death kicking at his heels. And both of those guys had visions, and that's part of the mystery of the book. And there are ghosts. There are ghosts in the book. Oh, let's put a wrap up. I can't do that. Well, anyway, what I wanted to say something about, to me, what's the greatest mystery to me in the entire book. There's what I call a marriage between Dean Moriarty and Sal Paradise in this book. After, we saw the last scene up there, after they get kicked out by Camille, it's 1949. They get kicked out. They go, they're standing outside the house, near the house where they got kicked out, and you know, these guys agreed to stay together unto death. What does that sound like? It sounds like a standard marriage contract. And they go to what the key scene is actually in a restaurant, both in the restroom of the restaurant and up at the booth where you eat the food in the restaurant. And it's amazing because what happens is the Kerouac character says to Dean, I have $83, but I'm going to take you to New York. I'm committing myself to you, and I'm going to be responsible for you. It's totally unlike Kerouac. And he says, I'm also going to take you to Italy, and I'm going to take you to Paris, and I'm going to try to do that by getting money from publishers. You know, and Dean looks at Sal Paradise from the corner of his eye and keeps this look for a very long time. And when the food is served, Dean does not eat, which is extremely unusual. He goes outside. He just walks out. And when he comes back, Sal Paradise says, "What did you do out there?" And he says, "I cried." Very rare. And wrap it up, okay. So what I want to say is the key mystery is, Sal Paradise in the book says, in that restaurant, I was very ugly. I showed a very ugly face and a lot of filth came out from me, my impure psychologies, and he says to Dean, "It's not my fault, it's not my fault." To me, I want to go on a lot more, but I can't, but to me that's the most, the mystery is, what did Sal say to Dean? What did Kerouac really say to Dean? He really let a lot of something out, and it made a difference. Dean realizes somebody really loves him and is going to be responsible for him, and Jack Kerouac, I believe, is at that point realizing his love for Neil Cassidy. Anyway, I'll stop.
Okay.